Hello, everyone. I'm Indra Bartona, and welcome to my show. If you haven't joined me before, I talk about topics related to how to stay on path to a positive vibe lifestyle, interview guests, and host guided meditations. Today, we're talking about living a positive lifestyle with Gary Hensel, a best selling and award winning author, teacher, and social influencer. He's written 5 books, served 20 years as a professor, and now taking classes at Harvard University to expand his love of lifelong learning. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to my channel, and if you found this show interesting or helpful, please like and comment, as I love to read your comments. So let's get started. Okay, welcome, Gary, to the Positivity Vibe Tribe YouTube show. It is wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Wow. We've been very blessed to have you in Twitter Spaces as a special guest interviewing there. And now everybody gets to see you here as in the tribe. So it is wonderful to have you here. I'm so excited, and I really just want to jump into the very first question.
Okay.
So, Gary, tell us about your journey as an author and a life coach, and how did this all start?
Well, I think like all of us, spiritual growth is an ongoing process, and it can start at a very young age. And there's never really an end point. You're just constantly evolving and hopefully, growing and created a better version of yourself. And so I've always been fascinated and interested by spiritual growth. And in the corporate world, I was a director of human resources, so I'm working with people, and I'm hopefully exercising servant leadership. And then I kind of needed more, and I realized that teaching was my passion. So I taught for 20 years, and I was a department chair and a tenured professor of management and leadership, and developed my own coursework, and that was extremely fulfilling.
Mm,
But then I guess I needed more again.
yeah,
Um, so for a while now, I've been writing, and I've published 5 books, and I'm working on my sixth. And each book is kind of an evolution of my own spiritual growth, and then I just feel a strong passion to share it.
absolutely. So, how important is it to you to live a life of positivity, Gary?
Now, that's the number one key. Um, I the and I think I might have mentioned to you, um, I started taking some courses at Harvard recently. Even though obviously I have a lot of degrees in education behind me, this is solely for me.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm taking a philosophy course. And one of the areas I just was studying this morning before we got together was Buddhist scriptures. And something that really, I mean, I've known this concept, but it took away from me. Um, the end of all suffering is being in the now.
Yes.
So, yeah. And again, I've heard it before, but it just really hit me this morning. The end of all
Yes.
suffering, because we all have suffering. We all have constant challenges. Life will be going well, and then, some curveball. And naturally living life, we're going to have areas of grief, and we have to deal with that grief. And in this case, as the Buddha said, to stay in the now. And we've heard many other great spiritual leaders talk about that. So bringing that back to your question, the now is so important. You have to choose to be positive, to be happy in each moment. It's a choice.
Hmm.
And that is the foundation for everything.
Oh, I love that. It's actually very Eckhart Tolle as well. A lot of
Hmm.
the Buddhism uh, teachings. I love Buddha, and I use a lot of his quotes, and I also have a lot of his his concepts that I bring into my shows, like thoughts become things.
Sure, sure.
Um, even the I am enough concept stems from a lot of those things. And it truly is, I think it just, there's something about the way that the ancients in Buddhism express everything. It's very grounding, and it's very humble, right?
Yeah, and when you study all the world religions and all the great uh, religious leaders and prophets, and we're saying the same thing. When we really start breaking down, it's the same message. And then great thinkers throughout time, even in areas of business or invention, or you know so many. Again, if you really study this, there's a lot of basic principles,
Hmm.
kind of laws of the universe. And so I think that gives you a good feeling that this isn't just being said by one person, but by hundreds and thousands of great thinkers throughout time.
That's amazing. So I want to also talk about, there was something that fascinated me in your last book, the title Lessons for a Spiritual Warrior. Um, the fact that you said you felt divinely inspired. Uh, can you please explain this? Because to me, I'm just so curious.
Yes, and all of my writing is divinely inspired. And if I just write, my own natural thoughts, it probably wouldn't be very good. but I get into, I've been learning to get deeper and deeper into meditation, and I'm usually grounding while I'm meditating. So that's my bare feet to the earth. I chose to live in a warm climate where I can do that all year round, Um, and in those moments of meditating, of reading other great thinkers, then there are moments of inspiration, and I write those thoughts down, and they eventually come together and become a book. And again, the timetables are out of my control. Sometimes I can, in a few months, put together a book that really is meaningful. Other times it can take a couple of years. So right now, I started a book about a year ago, and I wrote like crazy for a month, and and I've had a hard time getting back. That's when you have to trust the process, and it will
Mm.
come with its time.
And what are the main areas for the book, the Lessons for a Spiritual Warrior?
Well, they start with some foundations. The biggest lesson I've had to learn in my life, and I'm 60 years plus now, is to love myself. I think so much of my youth was low self-esteem and trying to please people and trying to prove myself, and all of those types of things. And so that concept of truly loving yourself,
Mm.
and finding your passion to do that. And then you already mentioned, the I am statements. One of my early books was called I Am, and some early foundations uh, of the book Lessons for a Spiritual Warrior is that you are worthy, you are loved, you are loving, you are here for a purpose. And then throughout the book, I try to break down different topics, like it might be fear, or it might be evil, or it might be communication, or on and on. Classic things that affect us in our daily life, that we struggle with, and sometimes we do it well, and sometimes we don't do it so well. And so
Mhm.
it's all of my writing is very simplistic. It's an easy read. Some people tell me they read one page a day. Other people can sit down and read it at one sitting, you know. So the idea is to inspire. It's not laws or, this is what you must do. And the biggest feedback I get from my writing is when people said it made me feel better about
Mm,
myself. It made me feel better about life, and that's
mm.
that's everything. That's
It is.
yeah. I mean that
That's
makes me feel.
powerful.
Yeah, it makes me feel
Yes.
so good, and it's really the lesson I'm trying to share.
So, how can your book, Lessons for a Spiritual Warrior, how can it help people?
Well, I've had a lot of people tell me lately. Obviously these are readers and stuff that it's kind of a playbook for life.
Mm,
So that's the idea that you probably don't pick up a book like this unless you're on a spiritual growth path. You are in the awakening process, and some of the traditional spiritual um, things that are available for you are good, but not enough. You believe in more. You believe in a bigger picture. So somebody that's not ready for it, they won't pick it up. you know you have to be ready for it, and I really believe that across the globe we have a massive awakening going on now. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm very positive. So you can easily listen to the news or talk to friends that we're all going to die tomorrow. Everything's coming to an end, but I really see human nature continuing to evolve and grow, and come into a higher life form. And it's not easy. Growth is painful. And sometimes you take two steps forward and one step back and one step forward and one step back. It's not going to be this beautiful easy road. And sometimes the more pain we experience as an individual or as a group of people, the more learning and growth that can take place.
yes.
Because the pain is telling us you have something to learn.
Mm,
you know
mhm.
and this is the one kind of tricky part. If you say to the universe, which I've been saying my whole life, I want to grow spiritually. Well, get ready, because if you truly mean that, then life is going to continue to throw some rough stuff at you, because that's what it's going to take for you to
Mhm.
learn some of these hard lessons.
Yes.
You kind of build on basic concepts and ideas.
And I feel like we've all had those moments where
Yeah,
the growth is exponentially going at a speed of light.
some days you wake up like and say, "Hey, I don't want to grow any today, huh?"
I need a
you know,
rest.
yeah,
But yes, I think so many people listening will truly resonate with what you just shared, Gary. Uh, that was quite a deep dive on so many levels, and I certainly resonated with what you just said. Growth can be painful, but I think it's inevitable for us to keep moving forward.
yes. Yeah.
I would love to know, since we're talking about growth, what's your favorite part of being a life coach?
Well, teaching, in general. Um, when I taught at the college level, so it was adult, and many times, people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that already had a degree and were looking for more, knowledge and background and leadership and things like that.
Mm,
But when you really touch them, a lot of my classes would be like 3 hours long. And like, again, I'm into simplicity, and I'm into, very much an open dialogue. So really, we would have a 3-hour dialogue. Obviously
mm.
some breaks, but and you go home and you didn't even realize it was 3 hours yet. It just went by so fast, and you feel good. You could see it in people's eyes. And and the growth that they were having. So it's the same way whether I'm working one-on-one with somebody, whether I'm doing a small like master class workshop, whether it's my books, whether it's my social media. My social media, I'm not really a social media person. I almost never post personal things. Um, I recently posted about, going to Harvard, and that was like my first kind of post like that in a year or something. So,
Mm.
but it's become a kind of an animal on its own. All of my social media growth was organic. I didn't really expect it. Um, and it's very time consuming, but I
Mm.
have to remind myself that this is this is just as powerful and important as my writing is. It's
Yes.
doing the same thing. It's just a different vehicle to reach people and give them some good positive messages and help them feel better about themselves.
Exactly. Well, particularly because you have quite a large following across your social media, so it is a way for you to share your message, and also to direct people towards your wonderful books. To inform them about what you're working on and so forth. Um, I'd love to just ask you, for people that aren't familiar with you on social media, uh, what kind of things can they look forward to if they go to your Twitter account?
Well, everything I post is positive and optimistic. I never post politics, and people try to get into political discussions, and I just will not do it. That's not what this is about. Um, some of them are quotes from great thinkers throughout history. Sometimes it's quotes from my own writing. Uh, and again, it's different messages, basic concepts, laws of humanity, um, to help people. And sometimes you say, well, now we found out that that individual said or did something years ago we don't agree with. Just because you post a quote on an individual doesn't mean that you agree and support with every single area of their lives. It just means that they said something profound that
Yes.
was important, and it was a message that needed to be shared. And we've kind of gotten away from that. I think, as a society, especially in the United States, we're too judgmental of everybody. And when you're in a judgmental mood, you're moving away from source. You're moving away
Yes.
from your spiritual growth. We have to. So again, less time judging and maybe more time just trying to create a greater version of ourselves.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful way to look at things, because as humans we can be very harsh at times.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, you know, the cruelty that that we can um, spread out like venom. And I say spread out like venom.
Yeah.
And so we need a lot more positivity, and we need a lot more focus on ourselves and working on ourselves and reflection, self reflection. However, that is best served by meditation, prayer, journaling, solitude, whatever that is. Some people just like to go and do some exercise, some people like to sit in the garden. Whatever that piece is, I think there's more work that we need to do upon ourselves rather than, as you mentioned, judging others externally, because that's an external environment piece.
Yeah, and you said, you gave lots of great examples of practicing spirituality. Some people get a lot out of going into a church or a synagogue or a mosque, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that, good or bad. It's what works for them. Some
Mhm.
people can do walking meditation. People like yoga, tai chi, a grounding, just basic meditation. Um, in being in nature, to me, is the number one way to exercise spirituality and get in touch with a higher source.
That's actually one of my favorites, Gary, to go hiking.
Yep.
To hike in nature and just be amongst it, and just all the greenery and all the different colors and just everything, and even, the rocks, just everything, the sounds of nature, just absorbing the full body, feeling of it all. You go through some brush, and you feel it against, your arm, just every sensation, just to absorb it all. That's truly, I find that's my favorite thing. It's not always accessible every day to do that, to spend that time, but definitely, it's a priority every week. And then the other thing is music can be
Yep, it can be for people.
meditational, it can be a spiritual journey to soothe the soul. And that's another thing, that if I can't get outside and do something or move the body, it's another way that I can attune myself, to and soothe myself, soothe the soul,
Yep.
to certain types of music. So I love that too. I wanted to ask you, Gary, about your new project that you're working on that we can look forward to. Do you want to share a little bit about that book?
Um, yes. Yeah. About a year ago, in very deep meditation, I kind of went to another level and was feeling communication, for what I call, as a general word, the universe. I like that word because it doesn't exclude. Um, but yes, I was able, for a series of quite a few days in a row, to really tap into something.
Mm.
And and I was taking notes in several different ways I do that. And I've had a hard time getting back there, you know. So I just keep telling myself, when I'm ready, it will happen again. Um,
Mm.
so that's where I'm at. The writing of that book started about a year ago, and had a lot of what I call life getting in the way. You know, we're all human, personal things and health things and all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff like that. And so I just have to be patient. And I know that when I'm ready, and I know that in the last year, there's some lessons that I've learned about life and about myself. So I think that, this higher source, where however you like to talk about that, knows better than we do. And,
Mm-hmm.
and, and it's kind of, look at it this way. Like, have you ever taken a class, um, and then they give you some homework to take home or something? So I haven't been able to get back to class yet, but I've been doing a lot of homework.
Okay. maybe it's homework time
Yeah.
for you.
Mhm.
That's so funny how you express things like that, because I really resonate with that, and I always think, wow, this is quite a learning curve I'm on. It's quite a dramatic, there's times where I've just thought, I'm looking forward to coming to the end of this particular learning curve.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
you know but I'm just going to go with the flow. I usually just surrender to the flow of that, because I find that what happens and I'm sure you're going to understand this, and it's probably happened to you, is if I try to rebel against it or push it forward too quickly, then it comes back and resurfaces another time because it's not dealt with.
Yep. You'll keep having the same experiences until you truly learn the lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so just embrace it.
Yep. Yeah.
um, so I am curious to know, Gary, because you have been quite a teacher, an author, and so active spiritually. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, and one of my books was called Notes to a Younger Self, and Notes to a Younger Me. And yeah, I would love to sit down with a 10-year-old me on a park bench and, and talk to this individual. And like I spoke of earlier, probably the single most important lesson is to love yourself, to
Mm,
realize that you are worthy. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of your interest and passions. And obviously, if I could have talked to that individual at 10, at 15, assuming he would have listened, that's another
yeah,
thing. I think
yes.
there could have been a lot less heartache and pain and worry and, all of those different things. But at the same time, I wouldn't be who I am now if I
Mm,
didn't have all of that experience.
yes, that's true. That's right. So, gratitude for who we are now.
Right. That's right.
But certainly, the lessons learned you've shared along the way in all of your books, in all of your teachings, and all of your life coaching. So, um, thank you so much for being so
Thank you.
generous and sharing with us all, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, um, it's been a wonderful interview, and I just want to say, is there anything that you would like to leave as a parting share to everybody?
Well, going back to that one Buddhist scripture, um, kind of like I mentioned now a couple of times about loving yourself. The other one is staying in the now. I know it's kind of overused in the spiritual world, but it's something we really have to practice. When we're thinking back and saying, I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have said that, we're in the past, or if we're worried about the future, am I going to get the promotion or the pay raise, or am I going to be able to sell my house? All that stuff is in the future. So whenever you're in the past or you're in the future, you're not in the now. So no matter what horrible thing you're going through in life, um, as you work to stay in the now, it's a sunny day today. Oh, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for this individual in my life that I can share so much energy with. And you stay as much as you can in those moments. You will create a happier life, a more productive life, a spiritual growth life. And again, it's not easy. It's something we have to practice. It's a struggle I do all the time, but
Hmm.
staying in the now.
That message is so full of substance and of hope, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today, Gary. It's truly been a pleasure chatting with you and and hearing you share with us so much. And just to everybody in the community, in the Positivity Vibe Tribe community, we truly thank you for your time and for everything that you share, and also all the times that you've come to our space in Twitter Spaces. So thank you so much for spending time with the Positivity Vibe Tribe community. Again, all of your socials will be shared below this video, so everybody can reach out and get in contact with you. And we are wishing you all the best with your upcoming book. Sounds very,
And
very exciting.
oh, thank you, and thank you for the invite, and wishing you and everybody that's listening a great day today.
Thank you so much. And we are sending you, Gary, and everybody watching love, light, and blessings.